Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's class, which is a Liquitex Heavy Body Acrylic Abstract Textural Wall Art class. My name is Tim DePack, and I'm from Liquitex, and I'll be your moderator for tonight's class. I'm also being joined by artist Marla Morrison, who'll be your artist instructor for the class, and Marla will be taking you through today's class by providing information about the Liquitex products being used, and then showing you how to create this multicolored textural wall art piece. Upon completion of the class, you'll get a survey in your email. Please let us know what you thought about the class, how we did, if there's any particular topics you'd like to see Liquitex or Marla perform in the future for classes at Michael's. As Jamina said, the class replay will be available 24 hours after the end of this class. It'll be on michaels.com or Michael's YouTube channel. So please feel free to follow along and create with Marla, or sit back and relax and enjoy the class. And with that, I'd like to pass it over to Marla.
Thanks, Tim. So, excuse me, I'm so glad you guys could spend some time with me tonight, and we're going to paint this fun abstract textural piece. So I'm really looking forward to working with you, or like Tim said, if you want to watch it and work later, that's fantastic. Ask questions as you have them. I'm happy to answer them. Tim can pass those on to me. But all that said, I'm really looking forward to it. All right. Thanks, Jimena. All right, so this is the piece that we're going to make. Of course, this is this particular design with these 4 colors. You know, if you have certain colors that are more preferable to you, you can tweak them as you'd like. But I'm going to do my best to match this one and go through some color mixing in order to do that. And hello to everyone who's been saying where you're from. I've heard some people mentioning good weather where they are, and that's fantastic. So anyway, so this is hopefully everyone, if you're working with, has an 8x8 canvas board. Canvas boards are fantastic because we're going to be combing through the acrylic paint with these rigid frosting decorators that you can get from Michael's. And if you have other textural elements, like I have like a hair comb, or, you know, other interesting things like that. I'm trying to think of what else I might have to grab. Or even if you didn't want it to be super precise, you could do it with, you know, pencils or brush handle ends, that kind of thing. But in order to get these more precise kind of texture lines, we're going to use the icing decorators. And then we've got a great palette knife because we're going to be mixing a lot of color, mainly a whole lot of medium. This flexible modeling paste is fantastic for getting the texture that we're going to want. And so that's what we're going to use a lot of. And then we have these 6 colors, and I'll talk through how I'm mixing them as we go. All right, so to get started, just take your 8x8 canvas board, and I'm going to do my best to kind of mirror the design I had before. And I found in order to have the 4 different colors and comb through it, I needed to give myself just a light little pencil sketch just to keep things together as I fill in color. So feel free to go ahead and do that. I'm really just eyeballing it. I'm kind of coming about maybe 2 inches from the top. I'm going to make a little mark here. And I guess I'd say about, you know, maybe 2 inches from the left side. And I'm just going to do my best to kind of feather in a soft arch, like a, what's the word? Quarter circle, quarter piece, like an entire pie quartered. Okay. And then at the top, I have this half circle. So I'm just going to eyeball where I want it, maybe like 1.5 inches from the left side. And then the width, let's say this is, maybe like 3 inches. So I'm going to have it, I don't want it right in the middle, just design wise. I usually find that if I'm doing something asymmetrical, I don't really want to split any of these 4 sides right in the middle. So I'm going to have this half circle come over from the center line just a little bit. Does that make sense? I hope. But I'm going to just have it right about here. So this width is probably about 3 inches. Again, just kind of eyeballing it. And then now I'm doing a really rough sketch. You can see you don't have to be perfect because the flexible modeling paste is thick and it's very opaque. So it's going to cover up any kind of marks you make. I don't know why my strokes are so jaggedy, but it doesn't matter. So however you need to sketch that in. And in fact, the geometry of scraping the tools on the surface even though if my drawing's a little wonky, this is going to pivot the way it needs to pivot. So I may not, I don't know if that makes sense, but it may not go exactly in my lines. Again, this is just kind of to help me out as I laid out my design. All right, and then this last little kind of half arch here, I'm going to start probably, oh, I don't want it to be the same as this quarter circle, so I'm going to do it just a little bit higher, if that makes sense. So like if you were to take see how, it's not, I know this isn't a ruler, but you can see how this arch is going to start just a little bit higher than this one does, just for, again, kind of a design idea. I don't want anything completely lining up across the, in the composition. So I'm a little conscious of where I set different items in the composition. And then I'm going to just go parallel to the side of the canvas and just sketch downward. So very, very basic. Again, if you have different shapes that are intriguing to you, you're certainly welcome to do that. But when I created this composition, I wanted like 3 elements. And again, just thinking design, I figured it'd be good to have 1 large and 2 smaller just to get a nice balanced composition. So don't really have any hard and fast scientific tips to give you on there, but I do consciously think about the size of the elements and how they bisect the plane, the side edge of the square. Okay. All right, so I've got that sketched in. Now we're going to do some mixing. I'm going to move my icing tools over. I'm even going to move this over a bit because I really want to focus on the mixing right now. Okay, and I'll push these up just a touch. And what we're going to do is we're going to get out our flexible modeling paste. And what I'd like to start with is we're going to, since this is such a large part of the entire composition, we're going to mix the blue first. Okay, and so just open your jar, and if it's brand new, you'll see that it has like a gold kind of sealer on top. You can use your palette knife to cut through that. I had already opened this container, so sometimes I just leave them there, but I'll go ahead and pull this off. That little leaflet or little piece of foil is just to help keep it from drying out in storage. And so you don't have to leave it on there. But if this medium is new to you, you'll notice that it's very white. That's because flexible modeling paste is essentially acrylic polymer and marble dust. And it's balanced in such a way that, as the name says, it will remain flexible. So unlike traditional modeling paste, if you've ever used that before, which is also acrylic polymer and marble dust, this formulation is going to retain flexibility. Whereas traditional modeling paste will not. It dries to a rock hard surface and is only really suitable for rigid surfaces like wood or metal. Traditional modeling paste would also be suitable for this because this is more of a rigid surface with that cardboard backing. But I think it's always nice for artists to know about the flexible modeling paste. So you can see I'm putting quite a bit out. The way I don't do a lot of specific measurement, I'm really just scooping by palette knife amounts. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 loaded knife amounts of the flexible modeling paste. We may need to adjust, get more or less depending on how I'm feeling successful at matching the color, but I think that's going to be a pretty good amount to start with. Okay. And in order to get this kind of deep turquoisey blue, the first color we're going to want to use is our Phthalo cyanine blue. A little info for you to have on, just so you know, if Liquitex tubes are new to you, we're obviously going to have the name of the color. And we have it in the tri language, so French and Spanish. But then here you'll see series 1, S1, that's how we price each tube of color based on the pigment used. S1 is least costly, S5 is most. This open square tells you that this is a naturally transparent color. And the more you use colors, you'll start to realize that phthalocyanine blues and greens tend to be quite transparent. This little sun with a 1 in it, that relates to our light fastness rating for this color. So this is a very permanent light fastness 1 rated color. And then finally, you'll see the AP or approved product seal. That just means as long as you're using it, you're not making a sandwich out of the color or something like that. You're using it appropriately in a studio and not painting your body with it or something like that. It is safe for artist use without any extra health and safety labeling, okay? So we've got our flexible modeling paste. We don't need a ton. I'm gonna put just a dab of the phthalo blue. And even though this flexible modeling paste is opaque, I do like to add white as well. So we're gonna add about 2 parts white, or maybe that's more like 3 parts white to 1 part of the phthalo blue. I'm not gonna bother cleaning my palette knife, but what I am gonna do is I'm going to mix most of that phthalo blue into the white, because I want to make sure that I'm getting a similar value to this blue I have over here. Don't worry about the hue, the actual color yet. It's obviously not quite right, what I'm trying to get over here. But again, I'm trying to get the value, which is the relative lightness or darkness of the color. So I want to add a little bit more blue. And I just find with mixing, I tend to go fairly intuitively. And so I can adjust on the go. But whenever I'm mixing, I add a small amount of the darker value color to the lighter value color, just because it's always a little easier to adjust by adding more of the darker value color as needed. So I wanted a little darker value here. I think I'm gonna just add all of it. Okay, so we're gonna mix that up. Now, in order to adjust this blue that we're mixing, that's really quite vibrant right now, what we're going to do is we're going to add the complement to this color. And the complement is orange for blue, right? So we've got a really lovely color called Cadmium Free Orange. You can see this is series 4, and it has a black square, which tells you this particular color is naturally opaque. It is a light fastest 1 rated color. It is considered safe for artist use as well. It just doesn't have that labeling on the front. So I'm going to squeeze just a dab of this cadmium orange out onto the palette.
Marla, just to interrupt you real quick, on the materials list, we had cad orange, not the cad free, but I think they're relatively the same, right?
Okay, yes, yeah. If you have the cadmium orange, that's perfectly fine to use. I'll just briefly mention that cadmium colors have been around for decades upon decades, but Liquitex, one of our major innovations we brought to market was this idea of a cadmium-free color. Genuine cadmiums are like tiny pieces of metal, and as such, you never want to spray apply a genuine cadmium. Cadmium-free colors have been made by Liquitex to look very much like a genuine cadmium, but they're not made of the tiny pieces of metal that a cadmium pigment would be. So all that to say, it's a safer paint to use if you're concerned about disposal concerns when it comes to your wastewater when you're painting, or if you need to spray apply it. Some artists just prefer to stay away from genuine cadmium colors, and so that's why usually if I'm using a cadmium, I try to choose our cadmium free. But yes, if you have cadmium orange, that will do the same thing here. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to add we've got the cad orange, also get out a tiny bit of yellow medium azo. This is series 2. If you see the half black and half open, that tells you this is a semi-opaque color. And again, it's light fastest 1. What we want to do is we want to take that blue into a slightly more of a turquoise realm. Okay, so I'm just going to take a dab, like a pea-sized amount of that yellow medium azo, and I'm going to mix it into my phthalo blue with white. And hopefully you can see, I derailed myself. Sorry about that. I was talking about the orange and then I moved to the yellow because I do want to adjust it before we add the orange. So anyway, so we have the yellow medium azo, toning the color to be a bit more turquoise. I'm going to get one more pea-sized dab. I'm going to mix that in just to get it a little richer. Okay. Hey, Tim, do you think that answered the question about, or when you brought up the cad free versus cad orange? And were there any other?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that people out there, as they're watching this, and even on the replays, that there was we actually listed it as the cad orange, not the cad free, but they're in a good place no matter which one they choose.
Perfect. All right, as I'm looking this, I want to deepen the value of our turquoise a bit. So I'm going to take another, oh gosh, I don't know what to call that, probably like 2 full pea size amounts of the phthalo blue. And I'm going to add 1 more kind of dollop, again, about the size of a large pea. I want to get this a little bit deeper. To me, this is part of the fun of mixing, is just responding to what you're creating. I'm certainly not this way in the kitchen. I don't necessarily trust my taste buds, but I think of it like a chef who's checking his or her meal. They mix it, they taste it, they add a few more seasonings until they get it to the precise mixture they prefer. All right, so that's getting there. All right, so we've got this a little bit deeper value now, and this is still a little too intense of a blue for what we're trying to get close to here. So this is where we're going to add the complement, which is going to be, I have the cad-free orange, or if you have genuine cadmium orange, that's fine too. Let's start again with another kind of small pea size amount. We're going to just mix that into our blue, because when you're thinking about the color wheel, the complement to blue is orange. And so this is a really nice kind of tip to remember for any type of painting you're doing, because if you want to adjust a color and make it just a little less intense or vibrant, you can add the complement to that color. And it's just a really lovely way to adjust it without making it super muddy, because just a little bit of color has softened it or toned it down without adding like a dark value neutral like black or brown, right? So you're just adding the complement. So you still get a very clean mix, but some of that intensity of that vibrant phthalo has been taken down a bit. I'm going to add a little bit more because I want a little bit intense. So another pea size amount. And an interesting thing too, I feel like it kind of brings out more of a, I mean, it is a greenish blue, but it just brings out a slightly different kind of grayish, or I don't know what the right word is. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I just really I respond well to that particular tone that it deepens to. Okay, so this is pretty darn close. If you look at the lump of color that you've mixed compared to my blue on the screen. Now, because I'm going to mix this with the flexible modeling paste, I'm actually going to add 1 more dab of the phthalo blue, just because the flexible modeling paste is going to tint it a little bit.
That was a question I was just going to ask you. I'm sure the color of the modeling paste is going to affect the color of the paint. So, okay.
What's interesting though is from working with it, it doesn't tint it as much as one would think. And so that's what's pretty cool about it too. It is opaque, but it doesn't make it, you know, like an ice cream pastel all of a sudden. It is a soft tint. So now I'm going to scoop up. I have probably about a full teaspoon of color. And this is where the cool part, one of the cool parts, I think, and one reason I love working with acrylics happens, because I can take that relatively small amount of paint and mix it into that giant amount of flexible modeling paste. And that is perfectly fine to do. I'm not compromising the integrity of the acrylic paint at all. It's going to be just fine. Some artists come to acrylic from working with oil. And if you work with oil, you have to be a little more careful about how you mix different colors and medium. Oils are a beautiful paint medium to use, but I think of them being a little kind of cranky, for lack of a better way of saying it. You can't just use however much that you want. You can't take a tiny amount of color and throw it into a whole lot of additive medium or wax, so to speak. But with acrylics, I can take a tiny amount of color and mix it in a whole lot of medium. All right. So I think just to kind of get some of that deepness, I'm going to go ahead, and this happens a lot to me, everyone. I hope you can roll with me. I am going to just add that remaining. I'm adding a little more blue just to deepen it. I never want to go too crazy with it, but then sometimes I have to keep adding that darker value color. And you can do that too. Don't be afraid to adjust it when you've already mixed it into the flexible modeling paste. There's no rule about having to mix the color first and then mix it with the medium. They're fully intermixable at any stage. And so
I was going to say too, Marla, you're trying to match the color up that is on the example, but everybody at home, feel free to make your own colors that you want. It could be slightly darker, slightly lighter.
Totally. Yeah, great point. Great point. All right. So I like that blue. It's probably a little lighter than what I have, but I do like that blue. So I think it'll still work well with the other colors. So we're going to stop there. And let's go ahead.
I do have a question that someone just came up. Very good. Can you use that modeling paste with oil paint? Will it react okay? Or is that something that you would shy away from?
Yeah, fantastic question. Definitely you don't want to mix it into oil color. But if you had a panel, you can use flexible modeling paste on top of the wood panel as a working oil ground. So you could do some interesting texture, let it dry thoroughly. Say if it's really thick, give it at least a week to fully dry and all that water to evacuate. And then put a coat of acrylic gesso on top of the flexible modeling paste, and then let that dry. And then you could finish your painting in oil. The thing you don't want to do is you don't want to mix the flexible modeling paste into oil color. Does that make sense?
It does. Eileen, excellent question. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah, that's great. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. We'll jump from mixing to applying to mixing to applying. So we're going to do the large, or at least for mine, I'm going to do the large kind of quarter circle. And I'm just going to start scooping it up and filling it in. Now, as you fill it into the shape of your choice, however you're designing it, but if you're following me, I'm filling it to the largest shape. I can't help but think of frosting a cake, of course. And so I am trying to get the thickness about, oh gosh, if I could look at a cross section, it's probably at least an 1/8 inch thick, maybe a little thicker. Because obviously we want to have enough dimension that we can comb through it, right? So be very generous with your mixture, your color application, and just fill it in as best as you can. And just keep smoothing it and try and get an even layer. But obviously it's going to be hard to know exactly how even you are because we're not robots, right? So we just have to kind of do the best we can to feel if it's a good even thickness. But I'm really just filling this shape in. I'm going to the edge. And I'm going to make sure I do the edge of my shape as well. And also too, if things get, messed up a little bit through the combing, be aware that that's one of the really nice forgiving things about working with flexible modeling paste is that because it is so thick and opaque, we can cover up or tweak anything we might need to once all the other textures are applied, all the other colors are applied. Okay, so hopefully you're good with that. I think I have a nice kind of beefy amount of paint down. I pretty much used all of mine. I don't have to get it perfectly smooth. I'm just trying to get it even. I'm trying to go to the edge here as well. All right, so I'll put my knife down. And then this texture, I used the icing tool that has the soft scallop. Is that the right word? Yeah, scallop, the soft kind of bumpy, the one that has the really wavy pointy one, but I'm using the soft side, okay? And this is where, this is the fun part, another fun part, but also too, you just want to work slowly, okay? Because just from doing it, I found that it's just better to just take your time. Let me just show you the motion of it that I plan on doing while I'm not in the paint. I'm going to keep my right hand as still as possible. And I'm really going to be pivoting with my left hand. So my right hand has to turn, but I'm thinking of it as being like a fixed pivot point. Okay. And the other thing to say too, is I'm not going to scrape as hard as I possibly could I don't really want to scrape super hard because I didn't really want the white of the canvas showing through. So if you want to practice on your, if you have any extra paint at all and you want to practice, you could drag through it just a little bit and see the difference between dragging firmly. See how that gave me white lines, like as if I was dragging through, or this is not a lot of paint, but I think I can show you, or dragging very softly where I'm getting the texture, but I'm not dragging through. Can you see that texture? I'm not dragging through to the white of the palette paper. Okay. So that's going to be my goal on the canvas as well. And I want one edge of the knife to be at the top of my design. And like I said, my right hand is going, so I'm not sure what handedness you are. You can move your canvas however you may need to make it happen. But I line it up at the top, and now I'm just going to gently kind of comb it through. Okay. So I have a little excess here. I was very generous with my blue this time, which is good. Oh, sorry, I was cleaning it off camera there. So I just used my palette knife to scrape that off. And I'm going to just take my palette knife to kind of go down the edge of the white a little bit. Okay. If for some reason you're not happy with it, the cool thing is you can take your palette knife, re-smooth it, and try again. Okay. One thing when I was making this in the beginning, you're going to have excess paint on your tool. So I would scrape that off and make sure I would re-add it to my painting just because I didn't want to waste my color because I needed it for thickness, right? But now that I don't need it, I'm fairly happy with that. So I'm going to leave it, but I'm going to scrape the excess paint off the scallop. Then I'm going to take a paper towel and just kind of smooth it off. Your hands are going to get dirty unless you're super fastidious, which I am not. So just be aware you're going to get a little messy cleaning this off. But I just like to do that so the paint doesn't permanently, it'll be easier to clean. We aren't going to use this tool, at least if you're going to mirror my painting exactly. So I can set that one aside. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to move the painting over a bit. I'm going to scrape the blue out of the way. And by the way, I'm a big proponent of not wasting mixed colors. So something I will often have handy is I can have like a smaller piece of watercolor paper, because flexible modeling paste, even though it's thick, it's going to be flexible and dry. But I could scoop this up and scrape it on there. And I just do that because then I can use those scraps for collage or things like that. So don't ever feel like, oh goodness, because you want to make sure you have enough paint. But don't feel like you have to waste the paint if you mix too much. You can always make collage out of it. All right.
You're doing that. I have some good questions. So I think you can answer as you're doing that. One will resonate with you as well. So the one question was, will the modeling paste stain surfaces or your hands?
Oh, great question. No, the modeling paste will not stain it. If it gets, like I'm getting this color on my hands. The nice thing about acrylics, they are they're water soluble, and even when they're 100% dry, water can still pass through the dry film, so you will be able to take it off your skin. Same thing with the flexible modeling paste. So it's okay if it gets on there. You can wash it off with just a soap, just regular detergent, soap, whatnot. Did I answer it?
Yeah. Then the next question was, can you use the modeling paste with resins for paintings? Do they
Oh yeah, like mixing it with resin.
I think that's what they're asking. Yeah.
Yeah, any acrylics will not mix into resin because I do a lot of resin as well, and the two-part epoxy resins, anything that has water in it will compromise the curing of resin. So the only way I've found that you can use acrylic in conjunction with resin is to have the acrylic. So the flexible modeling paste, again, could be on your surface. And then once it's dry, you can coat it with resin, but you don't want to physically mix in any acrylic, including the modeling, this flexible modeling paste, into wet resin.
Okay, and then we had another one here was the thickness after it dries. And I think the answer on that is that it will maintain its thickness, right?
Yes, that's great question. It's really cool. Some gels you'll find they're going to have a decent amount of shrinkage because of the water content. There is water in here, and when it dries, it will shrink a bit, but I've found that the flexible modeling paste shrinks much less than like a heavy gel would. So this texture, all of these knife strokes and texture marks are going to stay exactly like you see it. Maybe just a little bit of shrinkage, but I'm telling you, yeah, this layer is thinner. I made sure that I mixed more paint this time. I was a little skimpy in my test piece. So this painting, this second painting is going to be a little thicker than my first painting. So it doesn't shrink a ton, no.
Another one on here is, will that excess paint that's on there, can you use it as acrylic skins?
Yes, you can actually. So yes, if you wanted to just spread it out on the palette paper and let it dry. I mean, you wouldn't have to spread it out. You could even peel it as that is. But I usually, if I'm making skins, I spread it probably about an 1/8 inch thick on the palette paper. Let that dry for 3 to 4 days, then you can peel it off. Yes, you can do that.
Okay.
Great question.
I'll let you start going, and I'm going to answer these questions while you're doing it, because I think I got these. Question, someone, can you use it as a modeling clay? Yes, I think you can use that. Correct, Marla, right? That you can make models out of the modeling paste.
What I would say, I've not tried it with the flexible modeling paste. I've definitely done it with the traditional modeling paste. So that would be, you'd kind of have to experiment with flexible, but if you know you want to do that, I know that our traditional modeling paste, which looks just like this bottle, it just says modeling paste instead of flexible modeling paste.
Yeah, I don't think you would want your clay form to kind of wobble and move and stuff like that. So you'd probably want to use the regular modeling paste.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and there's just 2 other questions on here. Do you need to prep the surface? No, you do not. But I do know with the modeling paste, you can use it either before or after. So you can either work with the modeling paste and mix it with the paint and apply it, or you can do the opposite way and apply your modeling paste and then let it dry and go back over it with paint.
Yes,
correct?
Exactly. Yep, yep.
And
definitely.
One last question. Someone says, can I add water to the mix if the comb is not sliding? I guess it's not sliding the way they'd like it to. Can we add some water to that?
Yeah, I would say yes, you can. I would try to use as little as possible, because the more water you add, you're going to lose some of that texture and you'll get a little more shrinkage, or it'll look like it shrunk more when it dries. So I would start with maybe, man, if you can get no more than like 5% water to 95% mixture or less, that would be good. If you just need a little bit of moisture to kind of get it moving, then I would try that. But if you add too much, it'll just be kind of a sloppy mess that won't hold your texture as nicely. There's nothing chemically wrong with adding, up to 25% water to 75% color or medium. But I think for this technique, it would get too juicy. So
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the questions. So let's do this peachy layer now. And so we need 3 colors for that. I went ahead and put the flexible modeling. I put 3 palette size dollops of flexible modeling paste. Of course, you don't have to do what I did. I'm just trying to show my different color sections here. So I added another little, just a small amount of the cadmium, cad-free orange. And then this time we're going to use a different blue. This is ultramarine blue. Just need a little dab of it. Ultramarine blue is a very popular blue. It's naturally transparent. It is going to be, compared to the phthalo blue that we first used, it's a little bit more of a warmer red, you could say. Or it's also more of a red bias, whereas phthalo blue is more of a green bias blue. And then, of course, everyone's favorite, the most popular color that most paintings have in it is titanium white. So again, I've got about 2 parts titanium white to 1 part color. So I'm going to add some of the orange, take about a pea-size amount, mix it into that dollop of white. Again, I'm just trying to go for value here. And I don't want to make the same mistake, so I'll make it a little bit darker. And not really a mistake, just adjust it a little differently, I guess I should say. And so I'll bring my, so that's pretty close, right? But you can see that this peach that we're making is a little bit more vibrant. And I think to keep it in the same tone as the blue, want to soften it a bit. So again, we're going to come in with the ultramarine, like a teeny tiny amount of the ultramarine blue. And now we're going to put it into that peach color. And that's going to just slightly take away some of that intensity of the peachiness. Kind of a dusty peach, maybe. Whatever you want to think of it. And then I think I got a little too brown, so I'm going to add the rest of my orange. And this is the thing, because this is such small amounts, it's hard for me to give you precise. You need 1 part of this, 2 parts of that. It's part of it, again, is just mixing and adjusting to what you visually prefer. So that's pretty close. I'm trying to match. I feel like my mixture is maybe a little bit browner, so I'm going to take a little of this cat I already had out, like another pea-size amount. I added a little too much blue. But that's the other beauty thing. It's a reversible process. I can, tweak as needed. If I added too much blue, I can add a little more orange. All right, I think that's pretty good. So now I'm just going to scoop that right over into my flexible modeling paste. And I know I have plenty for that small circle there. But again, I'm not going to waste it. I can spread it out. Like someone suggested acrylic skins you could do, or you can make, I usually make collage papers, things like that. I used to try and save the paint, but honestly, I would forget about it and then it would just dry up into the little containers I'd put it in. So I would just use it more now if I go ahead and let it dry, but I kind of have a say in where I want it to dry and how I want to use it. All right. So don't be afraid to move your canvas as you need. I just turn that around and now I'm going to scoop up some of that peach and just fill in my little half circle. And just geometry wise, I can tell that my circle was a little flat. And so I just kind of bumped up that arch a little bit. Okay. Be careful. I'm one of those artists that, I can walk through a studio and paint will jump on me. So I'll not be surprised if I accidentally get my thumb in some of this wet, thick paint. And it's not a hazard problem to do it. It just can make your experience a little messier. So just be aware of where the wet paint is. And again, I'm painting it fairly thickly. This is definitely a good 1/8 inch thick because I want to make sure I can get some nice texture work in there. Okay, I'm going to scrape that off, clean my knife off. And now for this texture, I use the zigzag. That's how I think of it. Or I know there's a fabric. What's the word for fabric? Pinking, like a pinking shear texture. So for this one, because this is so long, I couldn't really figure out how to carefully do this whole kind of rotation motion and make it look good. So I kind of fudged it. What I did is I took I'll take the tool and I'll kind of bisect this. Let me see if I can line it up so you can see right on top of it. I'm going to bisect the half circle. And then I'm going to do 1/4 this way. And then I'll clean it. I'll do the other 1/4 this way. That was just the easiest way I felt like I could do it and still create the texture. So I'm going to start in the center. I don't want to get the white of the canvas. So I'm kind of hovering over the base of the canvas and I'm just going to keep the bottom part firm, but I'm going to slowly rotate my icing tool. It's a little jaggedy. So I could do this one again. So I'll take some of my extra paint. Remember, I said, don't be afraid to do it again as many times as you want. You have plenty of working time. So I'm going to clean my tool. Let's try it again. I think it was a little too slow. So I'm going to just try it again. One other tip too, if you can kind of lean the tool in the direction where you're scraping, that can help also. So here I'm going to lean. There we go. That's better. I'm happy with that. All right. And then I kind of picked it up a little soon. That's okay. I think what I'm going to do is just kind of scoop that off the edge. There we go. And I can fix that if I choose to. But I want to scrape that off. And then I'm going to do the other side the same way. So all I need to do is line up the little points into the crevices I've already made. And just drag it the other way. Ooh, a little wonky. But hey, it is what it is there. I think I'll leave that. Now, if you are not happy with yours, of course, you can keep doing it. But I think I kind of like the energy in that. And I like that I kept this overall shape. So I'm going to leave that. And I don't want to keep you all night. So I don't want to keep redoing it over and over. But so we've got that color. One last color is kind of this nice taupey brown. So I'm not going to use this tool again. So I'm going to clean it. And then we're going to use this repetitive square cut for the last drag through tool. And I think it's so I don't get myself all painted up on. I'm going to turn the canvas that way. And I think too, I'm going to turn this, I'm going to scrape some of this over. If you want to get a fresh piece of palette paper, feel free to do so. I'm just going to try and scrape mine over a bit. Clean my knife. And we'll use this as our working area because this taupey brown color has some of this peachy mix, kind of essentially it has some of that peachy mix in it. So I'm not too worried about that. All right. So this last color is where, interestingly enough, we're going to use all of the colors except for the phthalo blue. And you only need a little of each. And the quickest way I can tell you to do it is just, let's start with the yellow. And you're going to just squeeze out a very tiny amount, just barely a little squeeze of it. And we're going to do that with each of the other colors. So we'll do it with the yellow, then we can do it with the cad orange or cad free orange. Okay, just a very tiny squeeze. The ultramarine blue. Because I do remember when I was mixing this, it was a fairly uniform proportion of these 4 colors with white. And then the last but not least, we haven't used it yet, is our cadmium red medium. It's a fantastic color. It's again opaque, and it is that genuine cadmium family that I was talking about earlier. We also have a cad-free red medium, so it's your choice. So you can just see that I use the cad-free and the genuine cadmium, and they're interchangeable depending on the color. So that's you have choice as an artist to use what you want to use. So we've got those 4 colors down, and then I'm going to add some titanium white. I'm going to put a more generous dollop of that there, and I'm going to slowly mix it depending on what I think I need. But we can take these 4 colors and just mix them. And this is that principle that you get where you hear about like all the colors together make brown, right? But you can really use that to your advantage in a project like this because it can give you some really lovely neutral colors. And so I've just mixed those 4 together, and now I'm going to add some white. And in fact, in order to not add too much white, I'm going to move some of that color over to the side, just use a little bit. And I took probably 2 pea-sized amounts of that white to mix with this kind of taupey brown. I'm going to take a little bit more of this. You can see a lot of times if I'm trying to match color, I think less is more, and then you can always add more color as needed. Sometimes it's hard to have a specific memory of exactly what proportion. So I'm just kind of slowly adding more of either the white or this brown to get it a similar value to what I used before. I just think that's a really pretty neutral color. And it goes nicely with our kind of turquoise blue and peach. And that's pretty close to the color I had over here. Again, since I might want to make it a little deeper, so I add a little tiny bit more of my brown. And then now we can add flexible modeling paste to it and fill in our last, almost next to last section. I just had a bunch on the back of my knife, and that's fine. I just mix it in. But again, that was a case of using all of those colors together. It gives a nice neutral. So that's something else to consider. You don't have to have a brown, so to speak. You can mix your colors together to get whatever kind of tone brown that you like. So a small set of colors can do a lot of things for you when it comes to mixing. All right, so let's do this. Let's take about 1, 2, 3, being pretty generous here, 3.5 dollops of the flexible modeling paste. And we're going to mix that in with our soft brown, tan brown kind of color. It's just such a nice experience, kind of whipping that together. Very frosting like. Don't eat your paint though. On the tech line, I've actually have had artists call and ask if they can eat their paint, because they say it's not, you know, we say it's non-toxic, but it's not meant for eating, even though it might look delicious. So, all right. So now I'm gonna slide this over and do the same thing. I'm gonna fill in this little sliver of an arch with my taupey brown. And Tim, everyone's doing well, question-wise?
Yes, I think we're all doing very well here. I was going to add something. What you were saying is just because it says heavy body, do not use that as body paint.
Oh, right. That's true. That's another thing that it can be, you know, some people have been, I get it, you can be confused about, but yeah, that's just about the physical texture of the paint. Yeah, and I didn't mention that heavy body is one of several different paint textures we have. It was formulated, the original formulation is from the early 60s and it was originally formulated by the founder, Henry Levison, to get more of an oil-like texture to acrylic paint. So it's a nice texture acrylic for sure. All right, so here, I think if I'm remembering correctly, what I did is I started at the bottom, stroked this way, and then did the curve at the end, okay? So just make sure you have plenty of room because you're only using, you know, a small portion of this large knife. So clear out whatever area you might need to. And I'm going to have this first tooth kind of right at the edge of the color blob, or the color shape, I should say. And I'll just do the best I can to kind of scrape through it. I'm just being really gentle with the amount of pressure. And then curve at the end. And then pick up. Yeah, so I have a really deep amount of paint there. Oh, I hope y'all are having fun with it like I am. I love that part. It's so fun. And then you can take your knife and just carefully straighten up the ends if you'd like. Fun. All right, it's looking good. Then now we've got what I would think of as the negative space of our piece to kind of deal with. And so that we can do. Really what I did before is I just added more white to this neutral taupey color. So we don't have to do any more mixing other than just adding some white and then the flexible modeling paste. And I think I will go ahead and get another, just tear this sheet off and have a fresh one to do that. Might be a little tricky here. Let's see if I can do it. All right, so we'll move that over. take this and I'm going to squeeze out. I don't have to use a ton because I'm using flexible modeling paste, but probably a good teaspoon amount of the titanium white. And then I'm just going to scoop up a large pea size amount of that brown we last mixed. And I'm going to mix that with the white. And really the only logic behind that is just to keep it, to give it a warmer white than the cool white of the pre-primed canvas board. I just wanted a little warmer tone white. And so that's what that gives you. So I mix that together. You can see how that's, well, it might be hard to see on video, but if you're doing it in person, you'll see how that just kind of warms up the white surface. And then we need some more of our good old flexible modeling paste. And that's a good size amount of surface. So I would plan for, how many dollops am I going to do here? It's like 5. Oh, it doesn't have to be quite as much because we're not combing through it. But so that's 5 dollops. I just want to make sure I have enough to make it kind of as even as possible with the thickness of the other pieces. And I know I want it a little warmer, so I'm going to add just a little more of that brown. All right, nice. It's kind of reminding me of now, okay, I'm very food centered, obviously, but it's reminding me of like a natural vanilla bean color, vanilla yogurt or whatnot. And now, yep, just time to fill in the sections that remain, or this large single section that remains, and kind of zone into that. And then what you can do when you butt up to the other colors, just what I did is I tried not to butt up and touch color until I had most of the white or this light warm white filled in, because you can get a little color transference. And so what you have to do in that case is, you know, to keep this warm white section, you know, without having extra color in it, you have to stop and clean your knife. So I'm trying to just fill it in, leaving a slight border between shapes. And then what I'll do, once I even out this warm white section, then I will butt up the warm white with the colors. Okay. Oh, this is so creamy, delicious. I love it. Very, very tactile use of paint for sure. And something a cool thing, if anyone's into printmaking, another thing that flexible modeling paste, especially this kind of look, can be really nice for is collagraph, where collagraph work, where you create whatever surface you want with textured acrylics, and then you run this through a print press with, you ink it up with printer's ink, or you could even use acrylic ink with like our silkscreen medium, and run it through a press, and you'll get interesting texture from the print process. So you can see how now what I'm doing is I filled in the main part of the warm white, and now I'm kind of coming in with fresh white and just butting that up to my larger shape, or to my shapes. Does that make sense? Just kind of butting it up edge to edge. And that's where you can clean up any edges that might be a little wonky if you don't care for that. Or if you had any blips like I had, I can just cover right over it. Your pencil lines will be covered. You can straighten up anything. Like if I want that to be a little less wonky, I can do that. Just keep going around and around here. And come up to my kind of tan arch and do the same thing. It's almost like I'm pushing the paint where I want it to go. I mean, that is what I'm doing. So that I got a little tan on there. So I'm just going to take it and scrape it onto the palette paper, and then I'll add some more white. And there we go. So now it's just a matter of taking your knife and depositing the excess paint and then smoothing it out if you like that contrast between the texture and the smooth areas. I had a difficult time figuring out how to get it completely smooth, but this idea of taking it, scraping it and smoothing it and then wiping it on the palette knife was about the best I could come up with, because then you can keep flattening it and smoothing that the warm white section.
I think it looks interesting with some of the knife marks in it as well, just like that.
Yeah, true. Kind of like yeah, almost like a stucco, purposeful stucco kind of look. Yeah. So just about done. Yeah. And there's another technique called sgraffito, which this would be perfect for. And that's somewhat what we did here. Sgraffito technically means where you scratch through to see the surface beneath. So I was purposely trying not to do that, but that's another great thing that flexible modeling paste can do for you. You could paint the canvas one solid color, then you could mix different colors with the flexible modeling paste, apply it, then scrape through. And say I had a bright orange canvas and I painted blue paint on top, then I scraped through to the surface, I'd have thin lines of bright orange showing through. So that's another fun technique that flexible modeling paste can do for you, is sgraffito. All right, I think I feel pretty good about that. I really want to see what y'all have done. So if you have any other questions, but I'm thinking we've got some nice thick paintings at this point. Anyone have any that they'd like to show? Is Ximena available to switch? Oh, I see one.
Yeah.
Let me
PS, so let me go ahead and spotlight.
Those are awesome colors, PS, on there. I saw that.
Oh,
Very
I
nice
love that.
pastel colors.
Very cool.
Let me go back to you, Marla, and see if anyone else. Okay, so Bob, that's not Bob, but it says Bob. Let me spotlight right there.
Oh, nice. Excellent. You did a great job with the mixing. That's awesome. Very nice.
And I believe that's it.
Fantastic.
Oh, no, Tucker. We have Tucker. One last one right there.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, I like that greenish arch. That's really nice. Fantastic.
I'm putting in the chat all the different hashtags. I really encourage everybody on there, put the hashtags down and post it, share it with Michael's. And you never know, one day your artwork could show up in a Michael's email. I've seen it before. It's really cool. So we'd really love to see what you're doing and share it with everyone else. One thing I will tell everybody before we end here, if you want to save anything that was in the chat, if you go in the chat box after the little smiley face, that's not my smiley face, but there is a smiley face there. There's 3 little dots. It says more. Click on that and you can go in there and hit save chat. That will save all the transcript that was done throughout this class on here, because if you go back to the replay, none of that is viewable. So definitely save that if there's some information that you were chatting back and forth with me, or you saw something else on there that was of interest to you and you want to refer back to it, especially like all the hashtags that are on there, so you can have reference to those when you want to post pictures onto your site's social channels.
Hey, and Tim, Tucker asked a great question. He asked, how long will it take to dry? Yeah, so this, like, you leave it wherever you were working. If you can leave it, let's leave it out. Tomorrow morning, the surface will be slightly touch dry, but you would be able to press through it. So when you're working this thickly with acrylic, you want to give it probably at least a week or 2 before you consider it's dry. If it's raining and really humid where you are, it's going to take that full 2 weeks. If you're in Arizona and it's super hot and dry, you probably have 1 week, but the surface will be touch dry tomorrow. Will it dry glossy? Another fantastic question. No, the flexible modeling paste is going to be matte when dry. If you want it to be glossy, you can always coat it with like one of our gloss varnishes if you want the glossy look. That's perfectly fine to do. Great questions. Love it.
Did everybody have fun tonight? I think it was really interesting to see the multiple colors on there. I think that was a lot different than what we typically see in a lot of the artwork that's going on right now, where it's most of the time it's a single color. So Marla really showed us on here to do different colors, and here she has some examples of
this is
plain color.
Yeah, if you get into this texturing, this is kind of what Tim's talking about. You can practice or play with doing the single colors, like if you wanted a large triptych just with single But yeah, Tim and I had fun kind of planning it out, seeing if we could do it with a more of a color composition with the texture. So yeah.
Oh, one thing I will say, if anybody bought the icing cake decorating tool that you have on there, I do not recommend that you go ahead and use that again for any food. Please do not use it because you've mixed it with the paint on there.
Fantastic.
It's a public service announcement to make.
Yes. Yes. I just keep it separate from your food at this point.
Make the cake first, clean it off, and then go do your artwork piece.
That's right. That's right. Oh, goodness.
Okay.
Oh, you're welcome, everyone. Thank you for your kind comments. And it's been such a joy painting with you tonight, and hope you'll continue to explore this flexible modeling paste. And I know you have, if you bought the colors, you have 6 still almost full tubes of color. So you can make many of these or make different color pieces and have a great time with it. So enjoy and have a great evening. Tim, I don't know if you need to say anything else, but.
Well, I just want to say I appreciate everyone joining us tonight. I know it's late in a lot of areas, 8 o'clock where I am. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule and your dinner schedule and joining us tonight. And we look forward to seeing you in future Liquitex classes being done here on Michael's.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.